Good morning, children. Hope all of you are fine. Today we will revise the chapter What is democracy? Why democracy? First question, state the main features of democracy. Answer, in a democracy, the final decision making power must rest with those elected by the people. A democracy must be based on free and fair elections, where those currently in power have a fair chance of losing. In a democracy, each adult citizen must have one vote and each vote must have one value. A democratic government rules within limits set by the constitutional law and citizens' rights. Next question, which members are allowed to contest the election in China? Answer, only the members of the Chinese Communist Party or 8 smaller parties allied to it were allowed to contest elections. The Communist Party always forms the government. How can you say that Pakistan was not exercising democracy when General Pervez Musharraf was ruling? Answer, in Pakistan, General Musharraf led a military coup in October 1999. He overthrew a democratically elected government and declared himself the chief executive of the country. Later, he changed his designation to that of a president and in 2002 held a referendum in the country that granted him a 5-year extension. Then, the government in Pakistan under General Musharraf cannot be called a democracy because people may have elected their representatives to the national and provincial assemblies, but those elected representatives are not really the rulers. They cannot take the final decisions. The power to take the final decisions rests with the army officials and with General Musharraf, and none of them are elected by the people. This happens in many dictatorships or monarchies. They formally have an elected parliament and government, but the real power is with those who are not elected. Pakistani media, human rights organizations and democracy activists said that referendum held by General Musharraf was based on malpractices and fraud. Next question, giving an example of Zimbabwe, show how laws were made by one single ruler. Answer, since Zimbabwe got independence in 1980, the country has been ruled by ZANU-PF, the party that led the freedom struggle. Its leader, Robert Mugabe, ruled the country since independence, but ZANU-PF won due to unfair practices in elections. His government made changes in the constitution several times to increase the power of the president and make him less accountable. The opposition party workers were harassed and their meetings were disrupted. Public protests, demonstrations were declared illegal. A law was made to limit the right to criticize the president. The media has been forced to write and speak in favor of the ruling party. There were independent newspapers, but the government harassed those journalists who went against it. The government ignored some court judgments that went against it and pressurized judges. This example of Zimbabwe shows that popular government can be undemocratic. Popular leaders can be autocratic. If we wish to assess a democracy, it is important to look at the elections and how they were fought. What are the merits of a democratic government? Answer, a democratic government is a better government because it is a more accountable form of government. Democracy improves the quality of decision making. Democracy provides a method to deal with differences and conflicts. Democracy enhances the dignity of citizens. It is better than other forms of government because it allows us to correct its own mistakes. What are the drawbacks of a democracy? Answer: leaders keep changing in a democracy. This leads to instability. Democracy is all about political competition and power play. There is no scope for morality. So, many people have to be consulted in a democracy that it leads to delays. Elected leaders do not know the best interest of the people. It leads to bad decisions. Democracy leads to corruption, for it is based on electoral competition. Ordinary people do not know what is good for them. They should not decide anything. Let me conclude today's session. Children, you have to study all these question answers and read your textbook well. Thank you. Have a nice day.